Don't care when I'm blue. Can't you feel me breaking? I just wanted to know the truth. What are you putting me through? And to put it bluntly, I shouldn't have to say sorry to you. No, that should be you. So sit down and listen to me, because you never know, this just might be the last time you see me. Stuck in love, quarantining, trying to break us apart, boy. Or maybe go back to the start, boy. Way back to the beginning, when we knew that we'd never be the same. There was someone, but only because you said we were done. I needed some love I wasn't receiving. You wouldn't believe it. Ooh, but then you asked me to come on back to you, and you know that I wanted to, and you know I'd do anything for you. At least you stuck around. At least our feet are on the ground. At least I still get butterflies when you put your hand right on mine.
Hello.
Gracie Ray, look at you. So fashionable, so early in the morning for you.
I did my best. I did my best.
So, an up and coming pop star like you in the West Coast, are you just going to bed, Gracie, or are you like already up? You know what I mean?
I now that I'm doing this, I'm going to bed pretty early, and I try to get up pretty early. I find that it creates way less stress throughout the
Okay.
day, and I'm more creative too.
Interesting. Because a
Yeah.
lot of musicians, they go to bed, 4 or 5 in the morning. It's like
Yeah.
upside down.
Don't get me wrong, those nights happen too, but I try to be pretty consistent, and I'm a little bit of a grandma in that way. But it lends itself to my songs too. So
Love it, Gracie. And of course, you're getting ready to release the wonderful new EP, Nighthawk. We gave it a listen, loved it, really great stuff. So first of all, the fact that it's your first one, it's unbelievable because it is so good. Congratulations.
thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that means so much to me. Thank you.
Yeah, totally, totally. And let me ask you this. I mean, you played your first official showcase in
Mhm.
November,
Mhm.
which again is mind blowing because when people hear stuff like One of These Nights or Home to Me Now,
Yeah.
which we'll play when we edit this, they look like someone's like mid-career. Like that's how good they are. Does it does it blow your mind that like you just played your first show in November and like you're at this level now?
Yeah, I mean, that show I felt was so special, and I was debuting my songs for the first time. I really had no idea what the response was going to be. I had kind of fallen in love with these songs because they felt so original to me, and I couldn't, and when people asked me, what kind of music is it? Who does it sound like? I couldn't come up with anybody. Like I can't compare it to anyone. And I'm struggling with that now, because I'm like, if you like this, you'll like this,
Right.
but I don't know. I feel like I am really, really proud of these songs. And I do feel like they might be a little bit more mature for a first project because they've been festering for so long. And I kind of stepped away from music for a couple years in my early 20s. So now I'm really kind of diving back in. So
Yeah.
I feel like I had a lot of years to kind of like ruminate and sit with ideas and grow as a person before I could put them into songs.
Hmm. Totally know what
Yeah.
you mean. And it shows in the songwriting because I mean, you're like so heartfelt, like, heart on your sleeve. And actually, it's a lot of like embracing your garbage. Like it's very honest, it's very raw. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you about that, Gracie. Like, where did this? Because a lot of musicians and people in general, but musicians too, they don't want to embrace like the real pain. You
Yeah.
go after it. Where did this come
Yeah.
from, Gracie?
I feel like I was super inspired by a couple artists in particular who really center honesty and like kind of like deep and dark and getting to the really nitty gritty parts of yourself, and what great art that can end up being. And for me, it was kind of like this is the only way to alchemize these experiences and
Mm,
these heartbreaks, these big life changes, whatever they are. The only way for me to really address them and grow from them is to confront them honestly. And I really can't imagine writing a song that didn't come from something that had like just happened to me, or that I had to get through, that I needed a song to kind of show me a new perspective or something like that. So yeah, I
yeah.
think I listened to like a lot of SZA, and I was just like, dang, like this is so refreshing to hear. And obviously there's so many artists doing it now, you know, like Ari Lennox, like Jasmine Sullivan, these women who are like kind of pioneering, like just brutal honesty on all fronts. And
Totally.
I think it's so empowering. And I kind of just wanted to hop on that train and add my piece to the
I love it. I love it. I
conversation.
think women are making like the best music right now. It's pretty unbelievable, Gracie, and you included.
Thank
But
you.
you touched on something really cool there. And the reason why like musical theater was kind of like you thought you were gonna do that, right? For a minute.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be theater all the way for the rest of my life. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Because obviously, I mean, look, you have musical family background big time. I mean, David Crosby's your grandpa, your dad as well, James Raymond. So, you know, that's the obvious. But you went to New York
Mhm.
and you were chasing that musical theater dream. Tell us a little bit about like that dream and like those years in New York.
Yeah. So, well, first I went to the theater school at DePaul
In
University
Chicago,
in
right?
Chicago, which was a conservatory. It was so intense. All the like faculty is just it's insane schedule, and I really wanted that for myself. But once I got there, I was kind of like, wow, I'm only learning about acting, and there's no musical theater at DePaul, so it was kind of just
Mm,
like acting training,
right.
very rigorous. And at that point in my life, I didn't think I was ready to commit to doing that. And I wanted to learn so much more about music, about film, about culture and media. So I left DePaul. I went to the New School in New York City, where I studied film, gender studies. I backed a couple of my friends around town.
Yeah.
So I was still able to get music in there, and I was going to see so much theater that yeah, I kind of balanced it out, because I could have gone down the road of just theater, eventually musical theater, and that's certainly where my heart was at. But I kind of felt like at that point I needed to kind of round myself out a little bit. I feel like I didn't know enough about the world to even perform in that way, if you know what I mean. So I kind of wanted to like grasp different pieces of knowledge and kind of, become more of a worldly person before I zoned in on a performance art. That
Yeah.
was really important to me.
Yeah, right on, Gracie. But what was like a breakthrough moment? Because like like you said, you're in New York, you're doing all these things. You're backing Chloe Caldes, your friend, the whole thing. But
Mhm,
was there a moment where you were like, "Fuck, like music, like it's calling me,
mhm.
something's brewed." Like, is there a breakthrough moment that you can remember where you were like, this is my calling"?
Yeah, certainly backing for Chloe in New York at Baby's All Right was like such a transformative experience. She had this residency there, and our rehearsals were so much fun. I grew up with her, so
Right.
and she's such a rock star. She's been doing this for, I mean, since she was like 12 years old. So I kind of like, we grew up together, and I was watching her, play House of Blues every weekend at like
Mm,
13. And I was like, this is so cool. And I would always back her. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, when am I going to get my chance? I feel like I could really do this.
like do
And
this, yeah.
yeah, and a Baby's All Right, with Chloe, I've definitely had that moment singing with my friend Rowan Katz, on background vocals, and it was such a collaborative experience, and that certainly kind of awakened something in me. I was about to come back home to LA, where I was going to work in the film industry and kind of figure out what was next. But then the next real moment where it was like do or die was quarantine, and I was kind of like heartbreaks and the world falling apart, and what else can I do but sit at the piano with my dad.
Mm,
So it was really quarantine when I had the space and time to kind of, I think as a lot of us do,
yeah.
what my mission is, what my passion is, and where I should be putting all my energy. And
Yeah.
it became very clear in that moment that it had to be music.
I love that. And is that also when the songwriting flourished? Because your songs, like you remind me of like Nashville. We're Nashville based. We're in a seminar right now out of town, but we're
Mhm.
Nashville based. And Nashville is very much like it's like going to the gym. Gracie. It's
Mhm.
like, you hammer out 20 songs a week. If they suck, they suck, but it's like the discipline of it.
Yeah.
Uh, some other people are like, hey, when inspiration strikes, we'll write a song. What
Yeah.
is your process like? Because I feel like your songs are so well crafted. Your songwriting is like ridiculously good. Is this like you go to your grandpa and your dad? Like how did this come about, this songwriting?
Yeah. Well, I think I was frustrated for a long time because I couldn't just sit and do an exercise and get a song out. Like we were saying, like in these sessions where it's like,
Mm,
find the hook, what is it? And it's done in 20 minutes.
right,
That always made me super uncomfortable. And I was never really, I could never really thrive in those environments because for me, an idea could take a week.
mm,
One lyric could take a month. And I never rushed myself in finishing a song. And like a lot of these songs did take months to kind of rework and revisit. And I never put myself in a timeline. Like I never gave myself a deadline in that way. I mean, you obviously need deadlines at a certain point, but for me, it was never, I'm going to nail this out tonight. It
right,
was, I'm going to explore this. I'm going to take my time with what this feels like, what the atmosphere is. And then I take it to my dad and, he's almost always writing the progressions and writing a lot of the music that then I'll write the lyrics and the melody too.
right on.
So a lot of the time, him or I will have an idea, we'll come together and kind of brainstorm, and then I'll just ruminate for like weeks until something comes together. And then it does happen in a night, but I've given myself the space to kind of sit with it and explore where it could go before I really zone in and just kind of hammer it out. But yeah, I think the hustle mentality of writing songs in the industry, I found being kind of new at it and at this juncture and kind of seeing what those sessions are like. Certainly good, efficient, but yeah, I find myself under pressure like that, having trouble. Like, what if there's so many other things it could do? Why would we just land on this and decide this right now? Is kind of always took me a little bit aback. I don't know. So yeah, I kind of take my time. And I let it go the way it's meant to. It feels like I just am very natural, and I let it come when it comes. And I'm rarely ever trying to force something unless I'm super behind and I need to make a deadline. But
So
yeah.
cool. It's so cool to talk to you, Gracie, because your hunger and your like zest and your passion is so refreshing.
Thank
Honestly,
you.
it's like, man, like you want to buy some Gracie stock right now. But and speaking of that, it comes across in your social media. Like you're so good at TikTok, you're so good at all that stuff. Do
Oh
you
man,
enjoy,
thank you.
do you enjoy it, or is it like, because I know a lot of artists like they're like, man, it's become a full-time like job and it's not letting us like put that energy into the art, but you seem to
Mhm.
thrive in it.
Yeah, I definitely know where those artists are coming from, and I feel it for sure. I think it took, a little bit of time for me to get comfortable on there and understand what my relationship to the internet was. Because in the past, growing up, I'm like the last year of a millennial. So the Instagram and the comparison, and it all really, I think, messed a lot of us up in a lot of ways. So my relationship to social media has not always been good, healthy, as I'm sure we can say for a lot of us. But once I kind of reframed it as what gift could I give the internet today?
Mm,
Who could I make smile today? Who could I make laugh, or maybe confront something, or maybe think about something that they hadn't before? And I'm certainly still very nervous and self-conscious when I put these things on TikTok.
you don't look it.
Like you said, my heart's really on my sleeve in these songs, and I'm really putting it all out there. And I hope that, I mean, for me, it's worth it, but I hope that when it's received, that I'm giving something instead of I'm trying to focus on what I'm trying to give instead of what the reception will be. And that's kind
I
of
love
really
that.
helped me a lot.
Like you come from a place of giving.
Yeah. I think
And
that
your songs are the same. And that's why your songs, Gracie, they hit like they give you chills
thank
because they
you.
come from a place of giving. They are so
Yeah.
special.
Yeah, I feel like I had to learn things the hard way in so many areas of life that I feel like there's a lot of lessons in my songs, kind of, and in my past mistakes and trials and tribulations. And I
Right.
feel like, you know, Summer Walker's last project was a lot of that, like just learn from my mistakes, just take these
Unbelievable.
terrible, heart-wrenching, transformative experiences and apply them, you know, so you don't, so we can actually heal ourselves together. And
What a soul.
yeah.
I love it, Gracie. Well, listen, you have a busy Friday ahead. You've been so good with your time. Let me ask you about just like playing this record live. Like, obviously, it's like your first release, but it's so good. There's a lot of hype behind you. Can we please get like a national kind of like mini run? Can you come to Nashville?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm there. Yeah, I'll
Like,
be there
there's always space for an amazing singer songwriter, like
Yeah.
poet, troubadour in this town and in this country. So thank you, Gracie.
Thank you so much. Yeah, of course, I would love that.
Absolutely
And thank you for
wonderful.
everything. It's been
Thanks for
awesome.
your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.